Summoner Necro is so back. Almost 700 million critical strikes in Torment 4. In Season 5, the build was completely useless. In Season 6, we're absolutely shredding right now. What did change? How is this possible? Let me explain every single nuance, especially the pitfalls, because there's some bugs with the Ring of Mendeln that we can easily circumvent though. Timestamps are in the description below. Jump wherever you think you would like to be. Now first to what we're doing. We're focusing on the Golem. Maximum damage, biggest explosions. And for this we have the aspect of Fell Gluttony. That does a bonus explosion after the Golem exploded. Consumes corpses to actually trigger the Flesh Eater Paragon node, so you don't have to consume corpses otherwise anymore. And it reduces cooldown. Now the interesting part is this aspect used to only scale with my damage. So if I get 40% more damage, Fell Gluttony gets 40% more damage. Now the Golem has a legendary Paragon node that gives him 100% more damage and 200% more from Cult Leader. These two did not interact with Fell Gluttony. This changed. Yeah, this changed. So you equip Fell Gluttony, it does 6,000 damage, and then you get 200% from Cult Leader, 100% from a Golem. You got 9 skill points in the Golem right now. Well, that would be another 225% bonus damage on top of the Fell Gluttony as well. So everything that the Golem has in bonuses gets stacked on top. And now, intriguingly enough, the aspect kind of checks for all the Golem bonuses, and then it adds my bonuses too. So if I'm now playing the aspect of the Grasping Veins that pulls things together and then multiplies up the critical strike damage, yeah, that one applies to Fell Gluttony too, and to the Ring of Mendeln. Because the Ring of Mendeln says every 6th hit, your minion does a Super Boomer. Well, that Super Boomer scales now with your minions too. All your Skeletal Mage, all your Skeletal Warrior bonuses, the new key passive giving you 33% more damage for your minions, the 200% from the Cult Leader, all of that again, every 6th hit, boom, super explosion. Just randomly 200 million, 300 million, your skeletons do 100 million. Left, right, and center consistently with over 100% attack speed that your minions have. Now, very important for the Ring of Mendeln though, it is a little bit bugged because whenever you summon something, it resets the attack stacks. So they need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attacks. Let's say one of your skeletons would die and I resummon my skeleton, then all of your minions are suddenly at 0 attacks again instead of 5 or 4 attacks. That's a minimal issue because summoning your Skeletal Priest to heal and get the bonus damage doesn't count. What counts though is summoning your Merc, yeah? So not the Merc that's running with you, the reinforcement that you're getting. Now you could just kick the reinforcement out and not care about this, problem solved. But we have a way better solution. Check the timestamp for Mercs in the bottom below where I'll explain what the solution is. Now to the gameplay, I'm putting Undercity Torment 4 in the background because that's a time-gated dungeon and you actually gotta be able to do it. Your build gotta be good enough or it's just going to feel awful. The way it works is we're throwing our Golem in and we have insane Golem cooldown reduction at this point over our ring, amulet, the aspect, and in general with our lucky hit chance. Because right now we're playing on top of throwing the Golem in the Fists of Fate. Fist of Fate 300% damage multiplier from 1 to 300% damage now applies to any attack the Golem does, basic hits, to his Fell Gluttony explosion, to the Ring of Mendeln, to everything. The lucky hit chance itself does help with getting the cooldown reduction, and well, the 300% bonus damage helps with having the crits go absolutely off the charts. Now, after we throw our Golem in, we're actually triggering the new ultimate Soul Rift for permanent barrier, permanent vulnerable, and permanent resource. Because with this, we have infinite resource and we can pull things together with the Corpse Tendrils, Curse, and then we are just throwing in Blights for the damage multiplier bonus to slow, crowd control, and then to lucky hit, lucky hit, lucky hit, lucky hit, and then Golem, 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 Golem. The Golem is spammable again. The Golem is finally spammable again. We can just get him away to just, even against bosses, do his ulti one after the other, the other. And since we're playing the hulking aspect on our chest, our Golem is now able to make its own corpses, and we can take these Skeletal Reapers, in this case, to be working as bonus cooldown reduction. Therefore, we're quite safe. And before you're asking, does your Necro die? because Necro traditionally is a bit squishy as we don't have that much damage reduction. We do have a lot of barrier. I have at least 8,000 life with all the upgrades I've had, and I don't even have killer gear. I have okay gear to get another around 40% damage reduction, and that goes over to my minions as well, making me, the minions, everyone super tanky and quite not having me die anymore. Fantastic. And before you ask, we leveled with this build from 1 to 60 and then just straight up Torment 1, Torment 2, Torment 3. In Torment 3, we were a bit stuck because we had to level up our glyphs to 46 and then super easy to Torment 4 with the HP. Now, very important things to get is the Hood Flesh, because you really want with your Blight to be able to make bonus corpses on top of the corpses your Golem actually makes, and you get the 20% bonus damage multiplier. Then we're still having the Grim Harvest running with 3 points as our Golem consumes corpses and just gives us random essence boosts in between. That is very good for leveling later on. Not so much needed anymore. These 2 points could technically be put into Decrepify for bonus damage reduction, but that's another 1.5%. It's not really necessary. We're getting our Necrotic Fortitude together with Titan's Fall into Spiked Armor and also all the points into Skeletal Warrior Mastery. Now that Spiked Armor, at this point I have Eclipse, so I have more than enough armor to not need Spiked Armor, but it's a very nice thing to have as you're trying to get the 1000 in Torment 4. We get the movement speed, and the movement speed again could technically go out because who needs movement speed to get a little bit more Decrepify, but I know a lot of people don't like to be slow. That's why I put it in there. Now we're getting another boost to our lucky hit chance, even more movement speed. We get vulnerable from the corpse tendrils, and since our soul rift is making things consistently vulnerable, you don't have to have the corpse tendrils in the end game, and you could move that point into the blighted corpse tendrils to make bonus blood orbs to have a constant source of healing just lying around on the ground. 1 point into Necrotic Carapace is more than enough to have me fortified. We get 3 points into Finality for the bonus damage when we're casting an ulti, and we more or less every 8 seconds cast the Soul Rift, which then gives us the permanent barrier and vulnerable, but also a 30% damage multiplier. So another 45% damage multiplier every 8 seconds. Pretty good, I reckon. Then we get the 3 points into Inspiring Leader for the crit with the Hellband Commander. And lastly, the Callan's Edict for that 33% attack speed and 33% damage. As I am not playing Occult Dominion on my neck, I can't just simply do that. While leveling, it is an option though to just put the bonus skeleton aspect on your neck. Book of the Dead is going to be the Reapers for the 3 seconds cooldown. And yes, I've been playing that the whole time. Skeleton Mages are Shadow for that bonus damage on multiplier that applies to the Foul Gluttony. Yes, and the Ring of Mendeln. And then the Golem still for that super triple damage as he's only fighting one opponent with the explosion, and the general 50% damage increase as he's healthy. Now, before we go to the gear and the Ring of Mendeln, let's quickly talk about the Merc. First, we're using Variana, and for Variana, we're going for bonus attack speed. Yep. And then we go for even more bonus attack speed. So that's a 10% and that's a 15%, and those bonus attack speed go over to your minions. Yep. And then for our reinforcement, we're using Rahir with the longest reinforcement he has available, Bastion, 30 seconds. That means Rahir is only coming every 30 seconds, so only interrupting Mendeln every 30 seconds, but Rahir takes a protective position for 5 seconds, redirecting 90% of allies to himself for 5 seconds. Not terrible. Every now and then it's really fun. He props Bastion, you just walk into it, you're even safer than ever before. Could technically bind this to your raised skeletons and only ever use raised skeletons when you actually need it. That would miss you out on some damage. Alternative, there's a trigger to cast when player becomes injured. Then he just straight up slams that down and would save you from death. That being said, if we get injured, we mostly die straight afterwards because we played bad. Now to the gear. We're in Torment 4 and we don't have a greater affix gloves, chest, helmet. The rest is, at this point, luckily greater affixed. This Ring of Mendeln that you might think is hard to get, we got from the Obol vendor. Because yes, the Obol vendor, the purveyor of curiosities, is so easy. You want to have a maximum roll on the damage here. Nothing else matters, just the maximum roll on the damage. And then when you're master working it, I was really lucky and I 2 times hit the Skeletal Warrior and Mage Mastery. And well, that gave me 3 bonus ranks, which is incredible. Now the second ring is running Reanimation. That would be 45% bonus damage to your minions, which is amazing. And then Golem active cooldown reduction, Golem damage, attack speed, max life, and int. The attack speed, in this case, could be critical strike chance, as we're already having quite some attack speed. On the amulet, we get the Golem active cooldown reduction again, then Soul Rift duration. Very important, as we don't want Soul Rift to just prematurely end. Then the Grasping Veins for that 60 or 75% bonus damage max, if I then finally get to that point. The critical strike chance works for your minions too, so that makes Fell Gluttony an absolute monster thing, together with the Ring of Mendeln. Now I have the very most important greater affix you can have, and that is bonus intelligence percentage, 28.3%. I would have liked to actually masterwork this one, didn't get it. Then critical strike chance, and right now running total armor, because total armor and amulets goes bonkers. It's 49% base, and well, I brought it up to 74.2. That truly helps us to completely armor out without taking many efforts. Our weapon is currently running max life damage critical strike, and I would prefer if the damage was actually intelligence for that intelligence multiplier to multiply even harder, so that all damage here is not as good as. Then Golem damage, and Golem hits twice on top. The Golem hits twice does not work with Mendeln, but your Golem can basically, with his basic attacks, already do millions of damage. So why not just have him hit twice? And then the aspect of Fell Gluttony, and that is on the weapon to do the most damage possible. Because if it's on your rings or amulet, you're essentially multiplying up a worse value. I'd rather have the highest value possible to multiply up than put my reanimation, for example, to just higher my DPS. I'm looking to get the biggest Golem booms, and that's where I want my Fell Gluttony to be. It could be an option to trade Fell Gluttony and Grasping Veins around, as Grasping Veins would go quite high as a multiplier on the weapon, and Fell Gluttony might be high enough on the amulet. Gotta do some further testing on that. Now the boots get Soul Rift duration and movement speed, Skeletal Warriors and Mages, then Fire Resistance. Here you should take any resistance stat. So Fire, Cold, Lightning, whichever you're gonna get, take it. Maximum life intelligence, mandatory. My pants are running resistance to all elements, which helps a lot. Then corpse tendril size, maximum life temper, could be total armor percentage if needed, and intelligence as well, plus hardened bones for that 30% damage reduction. Now our gloves are Fist of Fate. We talked about it. 300% damage applies to Ring of Mendeln, Fell Gluttony, standard hits of your golems and skeletons. It's quite funny what it actually does, and I do believe as soon as you have a 300%, it's truly worth it to put on. I had a 250% before, and I went from 60 million golem explosions in Torment 3, as I didn't have all this gear, straight up to 150 million occasionally there. So it was really worth it to sometimes triple your damage. The chest is also having Soul Rift duration and total armor percentage with Golem Mastery, maximum life and intelligence, and then we're playing the hulking aspect. For the 12% chance to reduce the cooldown even further, but the 6% chance to spawn a corpse each time it damages an enemy with a normal attack. Now, technically not necessary. Practically, it helps to spam the Golem ability even more. I kinda like it. It works very well. I've tried it with and without, and I tend to return to it. Before I was playing the Bloodgetters aspect to get myself healed with the Skeletal Priest from the Mages, but I really didn't need that anymore as I have permanent barrier. And the helmet as a final piece with the cold resistance, poison resistance, and the Soul Rift duration. Yes, all of this together was kind of needed to get me fully resistanced out, together with then the Royal Resistance gems and the Paragon points we have put, which now has us sit at 50% too much fire resistance, 25, 43, 46, and 23%, which means I can actually take out these two gems, put in two skulls, and then I can finally remove the Juggernaut aspect from the helmet. That gives us 332% armor, and that is good. Juggernaut can go out because it's getting replaced. Awesome. Now we could consider to go for Dazed to get even more stagger. Put the Cursed Aura on for our board players that don't want to think about actually cursing things. And then you could remove Decrepify for Blood Mist in your skill bar to have an oh shit button. Or you play the Bloodgetters aspect to, well, buff yourself for more damage. And if you get buffed for more damage and healed by the Skeletal Priest, that goes to the Fell Gluttony and to the Ring of Mendeln as well. Might be the best choice there for even more damage. Now to the Paragon board, and most important is here, ignore every single rune in the beginning and just really try to activate your Cult Leader and your Hulking Monstrosity. That's going to be the most damage possible. You do see how my board is laid out here. If I was going through the first time, I would turn it that I could go into Cult Leader and then straight away out of Cult Leader again, just to get to the Hulking Monstrosity. No questions asked. Now we do have 235 total Paragon points already. And the first one is running the Eliminator, as this is the biggest intelligence board that he can boost in the long run with very easy to reach intelligence nodes to then multiply into our amulet for the intelligence multiplication. Then you do need Debt Raiser, and the higher you have Debt Raiser, the better it is, because it will consistently improve the damage reduction that your minions are getting, and also their damage. Therefore, Debt Raiser up is just absolute king. Then we're going into the Golem board. Golem provides us with some more total armor percentage, and you could get even more if necessary. We have the Corporal Glyph in for the movement speed and to boost the magic nodes. Even more Golem damage, has never hurt anyone, and summoning damage. Then take everything but this node for minion resistance and Golem armor. It's really not needed, as you have our resistance figured out. We get the Golem Glyph inside the Flesh Eater board, and we can take some more willpower here to boost it even further. Sadly, there's not a super crazy willpower board. I've checked them all. I've tried it out. This seems to be the best position for the Golem Glyph right now. We could take more resistance to all elements, and on the right side, we could tag even more poison resistance, if then needed, to even increase our maximum poison resistance as we go for 300 points. Now to the Frailty board for the damage multiplier upwards as we curse someone, more resistance to all elements and more shadow resistance plus max life. Yep, there's max life hidden there. And we're activating, last but not least, the Essence Glyph for the insane amount of crit damage. And if you have this Essence Glyph legendary, it increases critical strike damage. That is a multiplier to all your critical strike damage. So the more critical strike damage you have, the more it gets multiplied up. We currently have 49 points in here. I can take, I think, another 5. And I can take, yeah, I guess that's it already for that one as well. But hell, if we get this to 100 up, we're going to get like a 15% increase or so to our critical strike damage, which is good. And all in all, it's like 25 or 26 per 5 points of dex. It's truly worth it to actually push this to 100. And it's also the glyph I'm pushing to 100 right now. So it's 57 already. Eliminator is 50. The others are 46, and they're going to stay 46. And the first one I'm going to get up is Essence, because every single Necro build just literally replaced the Essence Glyph. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Insane damage, good movement, super fun to play. Quite brilliant to be back with Summon a Necro, as you're not just that victim that gets blasted by everything. No, you're finally surviving, and it's absolutely beautiful. If you now want to know more about super easy target farm or Season 6 endgame farm in general, 2 videos that have you covered. Enjoy and have a fantastic good day.